KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So we have a lot going on in the world today, and everyone has their biblical time frame and eschatology and things like that. But, as I've said in many shows, you have to look at the pieces of the puzzle, the little things that have been occurring over the last few decades and years, and figure out what the plan is. Now, some of you all are sitting there and you're waiting for Ezekiel 38. And you're expecting the Gog and Magog war. And you're waiting for the return of the Messiah. And we go off into a rulership under the authority of the Most High. That's not what the Bible teaches. That's Eurocentric eschatology. That's Christian eschatology. It's not what the scriptures teach. So a lot of people are just excited about what's happening in quote unquote Israel because y'all believe that's the land. But just as 911, you have another plan in place. And most of the world falling for it. I hear all of the people and I hear their eschatology and I hear what they believe going to happen and all of this. And what they're doing is they're falling for the plan. And what is the plan? The plan is to bring in the Great Reset. The plan is to bring in the New World Order. The plan is to bring in that utopia that I mentioned in the last show about the age of Aquarius. But how do you get there? How do you get from World War, where a lot of people are going to be deleted, to this utopia that they had planned? Now, it's not really going to be a utopia. But that's what they want you to think. Now, some of you all remember this show I did. Can y'all see that right there? 4 years ago, you see that? Called Kazaria 2.0 and the Kingdom of the Antichrist. And in this, I talked about Israel acknowledges Jews. In fact, Kazar's secret plan for reverse migration to Ukraine. Now, this was at the times of Israel. Now, you go look at it now, they go and say it was just fun. We didn't mean it. We were poking fun. But we went ahead and discussed how the plan for Ukraine was for many of them people in the Middle East to have a new home. Now, I'm of the opinion not everyone is going to go back to Ukraine. Well, Yakoba, how do you see it playing out? How do you see this? And later on, if I got enough time, I'm gonna put the link out and get some of y'all input. But if you look at what's happening, right? A lot of people are falling for the okey doke. Why? Because a lot of people lack the ability to critically think and research. And a lot of people also have biases. We all have biases. I have biases. But my point being is, if you look at what they say, and when I say they, I mean the powers that be. When you look at their plans over the generations, because they've been planning for hundreds of years. When you look at what their goals are and how they're close to their 2030 agenda, you can sort of figure out what's going on. Now, you all know that there's been a invasion of the land of Israel. There's been a so-called invasion. Now, you can see it. People died. I'm not going to lie. That's true. But all of this is based upon a plan that has been in place for hundreds of years. Now, what do you think will happen, Yakoba? What I think is going to happen is I think there's going to be a world war. We already in a world war. And I think a whole bunch of people are going to be involved in this world war. And I think the reason why they had to kick it off in Israel, quote unquote, the reason they had to kick it off in Israel, I'm going to say it again, quote unquote, is because they want you all to believe that it is biblical prophecy coming to pass. They want you to believe this is Ezekiel chapter 38, the Gog and Magog war. And after the war ends and we come to the Kumbaya moment, I told you there's going to be an Ewok moment. There's going to be a Kumbaya moment. Let's celebrate. Let's dance. Let's sing. There's world peace. That's what they want. And they got some of you all fooled in the idea that this is Armageddon. This is Ezekiel 38. And guess who's supposed to show up at the end of Armageddon? Who's supposed to show up at the end of Armageddon, family? Can we say the Messiah? Can we say Christ? Or could it be the Antichrist? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Timing is sort of, difficult. Point being is, it is the plan to implement the agenda. It's the plan to get all of the SDGs implemented. If you saw the show, the last show, you'll know what I'm saying. Some of the things we talk about today, I'm going to have to be a little cryptic about it. Read between the lines. If you haven't watched Kazaria 2.0, Kingdom of the Antichrist, I suggest you go watch it, because this one is Kazaria 2.0, a managed crisis. Now, we have here Hal Turner, he's a racist. Ain't no in between, right? Whatever you want to call him, he's a racist. That's my opinion. Eat the meat, spit out the bone, all right? Now, Hal Turner, he says, the answers all seem to point to yesterday's outbreak of violence as payback to Israel from Russia over Israel's support of Ukraine and over Israel's supplying of weapons and technology to Azerbaijan, which used it against Armenia again over the past 2 weeks to seize Nagorno-Karabakh and send 100,000 Armenians fleeing for their lives. If this conclusion about Russia is correct, then one might ask how much farther all this fighting in Israel may go. Will Israel still exist when this is over? Maybe, maybe not. One official with whom I spoke overnight told me Israel is suffering from desertification or a desertification of its land. That means the land is turning into desert. The groundwater table is receding 25 meters a year, and soon there won't be enough arable land to support the continued existence of Israel. But quite coincidentally, there is now rich arable land in the center of Europe, where half its population has either fled or been killed, that would suit a relocation of Israel. Ukraine, maybe they'll all move there. Did we not talk about that? Kazaria 2.0, Kingdom of the Antichrist, we talked about this. He said, gee, what a coincidence. As for those asking why are the Palestinians so violent towards Israel, the answer has been on maps for years, right in front of everyone's eyes. Below is the reality. From the times of Israel was created in 1949 until today, the white areas are Israel and the green are Palestinian. Look at what has happened to the Palestinians in their own land since 1949. What people fail to realize, colonization has happened over the last 400 years. Africa has been colonized. The Americas have been colonized. In fact, the world has been colonized. So has the Middle East been colonized. But there's a goal towards what colonization was trying to achieve. What was colonization trying to achieve? Global conquest. What are we going to do today, Pinky? Well, what do we do every day, Brain? I got that backwards. What are we going to do today? Take over the world, right? Pinky and the Brain. Y'all know it. Y'all saw it if y'all old enough. The goal of colonization has been global conquest and control of world resources. Ain't no difference. This is why there's bases all over the planet. And we know who set up those bases all over the planet. Military equipment and hardware given to all these nations. Why? So that we can get to the point of so much chaos, we need order. They're going to bring so much destruction that you're going to cry for peace. They're going to bring so much destruction, you're going to cry for a new world order, world governmental system with a world military police, with a world military, with a world Congress. You're going to cry for it because you ain't going to get no oil. You're not going to get no gas. You're not going to get any electricity, and you're not going to have any food because everything in the world's going to shut down, just like it did 3 years ago during the pandemic. Another shutdown on a global scale, even worse, is coming. But the reason it has to start in the Middle East is because you are supposed to believe this is prophetic. You are supposed to believe that this is Ezekiel chapter 38. You are supposed to believe that this is the Gog and Magog war. You are supposed to believe that when all things are done, what comes after this is a time of peace under the Messiah, a world utopia. The Ewoks singing because they didn't destroy the Death Star. They didn't destroy the dark forces. The Jedis have won. The Sith have lost. That's what you're supposed to believe. This is what's happening. Now, as we go on, we're going to see that this war that's going on, it doesn't make any sense. But let's look at some of this. To generalize conflict, Iran planned an organized attack on Israel. So they're accusing Iran. There's hard evidence of Hezbollah, Iranian Guard involvement. Okay, so now Hezbollah, but I thought it was Hamas, right? You cannot trust none of these people because there's a global agenda and there are people who are part of this global agenda in every single nation. Ukraine has people that's part of the agenda. Russia has people that's part of the agenda. Iran has people that's part of the agenda. United States, UK, everybody has people who are in the higher echelons of society that's a part of the agenda. So those on the lower totem pole don't understand what's going on, right? Half of them gonna believe this is Armageddon. Half of them gonna believe this is Ezekiel 38, right? The majority of people are going to fall for the okie doke when we sing Kumbaya after many people are deleted. Now, a lot of people were deleted over the last few days over there in the Middle East. And you're going to say, well, why would they do that? Why would they allow them to get deleted, their own people? That's the question. Because there's a greater objective, a greater program in place that they're looking to accomplish. Now, just to let you know, just in case I get clipped, I'm streaming right now on Rumble as well. So if anything happens, you can always go over to Rumble. Okay. So the Wall Street Journal, with a bombshell report, warns of widespread conflict in the Middle East by revealing that Iran planned and aided Hamas in planning the attack. In fact, the WSJ publishes details on the joint operation against Israel. In many Arab capitals, there is intense concern that a major regional conflict is now in the making, as the Wall Street Journal, U.S. News, directly targets Iran for the bloodshed in Israel. Now, that's the question. Did Iran start this? Did Iran start this? Did they really? Just because they say so? Wall Street Journal, Iran planned the attack on Israel. Iran allegedly helped Hamas plan a surprise attack on Israel, senior Hamas and Hezbollah officials claim. According to a Wall Street Journal report, Iranian security officials approved Hamas' plan for the terror strike against Israel at a meeting in Beirut, Lebanon last Monday. Senior Hamas and Hezbollah officials say Iran's Revolutionary Guards have been working with Hamas since August on plans for land, air, and sea attacks. This attack has so far claimed the lives of over 1,000 people, more than half of whom are Israelis. A direct Iranian role would bring Tehran's long-standing conflict with Israel out of the shadows, raising the risk of a wider conflict in the Middle East. Senior Israeli officials have vowed to hit Iran's leadership, and Tehran is found responsible for the killings of Israelis. Now, so they're accusing Iran. Now, what you have to do is put on your sleuthing hats, your detective hats, and ask common sense questions. Israel has some of the most sophisticated intelligence. They have infiltrated Hamas and Hezbollah. They have sensors. They have cameras on the borders watching miles and miles, of the surrounding nations and surrounding borders. They have lasers, they have Wi-Fi, they have satellites, they got US satellites, but you're supposed to believe they were caught by surprise by some people flying over the border, landing in the midst of their country and taking over the cities. That's what you're supposed to believe. With no tanks, no planes, nothing to hold fast those cities and those towns. They're pretty much a bunch of ragtag people who happen to fly in with a few pop guns and take over. Do you believe that? You think a nation with the most sophisticated tracking, monitoring systems in the world, it may even be better than the United States in terms of the technology that they have, that they didn't know what was happening? Do you really believe that? Ooh, they got caught surprised because it was such a sneaky way. No, it was a script. It looked like a script. They hang gliding in or parasailing in and landing in and just taking over. If it was that easy, they would have done it a long time ago. It's not that easy. Well, Jacobo, why would they do such a thing? Why would they do this? They didn't know. No way they could have known, Yakoba. You're exaggerating. Prophecy of Zelensky. Ukraine will be forgotten with the war in the Middle East. 300,000 Israeli reservists in arms. Total siege of Gaza has begun. Israel proceeded to the largest mobilization since the official establishment of its state, calling to arms 300,000 reservists for starters within 48 hours. According to the IDF spokesman, 100,000 troops will initially begin the ground operation and enter Gaza. At the same time, the northern front on the border with Lebanon and Hezbollah will be strengthened. The Israeli army has begun installing additional artillery positions near Gaza, Israel border, while 4 divisions have been deployed in the area and 3 adjacent to the Gaza Strip. The ground operation is expected to begin in the next 24 to 48 hours. Total siege of Gaza begins. Israeli defense minister announced that he had ordered a total siege of the Gaza Strip with no food, fuel, or electricity allowed to enter the Gaza Strip along with anything else. Gallant further stated, "We are fighting human animals and we will act accordingly." Now, they calling them animals just like they call us, right? But I digress. The situation is extremely difficult for the Israeli army, and the fear that exists now goes by the name of Hezbollah. The military penetration of the Israeli army into Gaza is sure to cause bloodbath unrest. Will Hezbollah and the other organizations or Iran stay out? A little while ago, the Hezbollah spokesman said Palestine is not Ukraine. If the U.S. intervenes immediately, all U.S. locations in the region will become legitimate targets of the axis of resistance and face our attacks. And on that day, there will be no red line. A new war with Hezbollah now looks increasingly likely. An engagement now with Hezbollah, while it is already at war and activating the reserve forces, is now more likely than later, when the Israeli army will be unprepared for such a conflict. We remind you that Hezbollah has a large stockpile of anti-ship missiles. Its capabilities have evolved significantly since then, thanks to Iran. It is worth noting that Hamas announced at dawn the successful outcome of a new operation on the southern front in which it kidnapped an unknown number of settlers. There are still 7 communities inside Israel where there are terrorist Hamas gunmen fighting inside civilian communities. Lieutenant Colonel Heck from the Israeli Defense Force spoke to BBC Breakfast from Tel Aviv about the latest situation. I'm not going to play that video. I'm going to scroll on down because there's something I want you to see. On the air of a political talk show on the Rasaya 24 TV channel, Zelensky told one of his Ukrainian opponents that the elections in 2024 in Ukraine will not take place since the country will not exist. These were the last elections in 2024. You will not have elections because there will be no country called Ukraine. You do not take into account the situation in the Middle East. Such events will unfold where everyone will completely forget what Ukraine is. Things are heading for World War III. Iran is not Vietnam or North Korea or Kosovo. The most terrible events will happen here, and your country is over. Time will tell if Palestinian Hamas will become the instigator of the global conflict.
Выборы последние были. В 2024 году выборов у вас не будет. Не будет страны под названием Украина. Вы не учитываете ситуацию на Ближнем Востоке. Там развиваются такие события, что все забудут вообще, что такое Украина. Дело идет о Третьей мировой войне. И Иран это не Вьетнам, и не Северная Корея, и не Косово. Здесь будут самые страшные события.
So Zelensky said, there's not going to be a 2024 election in Ukraine, which I agree. But here's the thing. Notice the timing. Ukraine is at the point where they don't have any more men. They don't have any more weapons. People tired of sending them money, right? But a lot of people have been deleted, and a lot of people are refugees, right? So it just so happens that Ukraine has been swept clean for more people to move in. Now, I'm not saying everybody who's in the Middle East is going, you know what I'm talking about when I say Middle East, the place where you all think our land is. everybody who's there not going to move to Ukraine, but a lot of them will. Think of this scenario. This is just my opinion. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Some of y'all don't like it. Some of you do. I don't know. Global World War III occurs, right? Russia, Ukraine, NATO, Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia. Everybody in the midst of this fight. And it's hot and heavy in the Middle East, even Saudi Arabia. A lot of people deleted. But then at the end of all of this conflict, somebody says, we got to stop. Too many people are being deleted. We're going to go ahead with the two-state solution. So, quote unquote, Gaza all the way up to Jerusalem and, west of Gaza, all of that becomes Palestinian territory. The rest become Israeli territory. And those Israelis who were living over there in Gaza and close to the borders there, and a lot of people who end up being scared are going to move somewhere else. They're going to become refugees. They're going to move to Ukraine. Some of these people are going to relocate to Ukraine. Kazaria 2.0, Kingdom of the Antichrist. Go watch the video. So what ends up happening, this is just my opinion, I don't know for sure. Jerusalem is going to become an international city as they've always wanted. After the peace treaty, after things settle, Jerusalem is going to be administered by the United Nations. It's going to become the center of the world government. And everything is going to be under control of the world government under this new digital currency, with this world military, and with you all getting your daily or weekly or monthly lollipops. See, a lot of people are involved in it, just like a lot of these nations went along with what happened over the last 3 years. A lot of these nations are involved in this. This is a global agenda. This is a satanic agenda. This is the agenda to implement, as I mentioned, the age of Aquarius utopia. So some of these people are going to start relocating, because remember, according to Hal Turner, and Israel is in a situation of being turned into a desert, losing their water supply. Not only that, they're surrounded by enemies. They're surrounded by nothing but Muslim nations. That's not what they call sustainable. A nation that's surrounded by enemies on all sides is not sustainable. So they're going to go back to their homeland. They're going back to Kazaria. They're going back home to grandpa, ancient grandpa land, because it's not sustainable. Because they're going to say, well, you see how they parachuted in and they glided in and they took over, and we have the most advanced sensors and the advanced military, right? If we couldn't stop that, how can we stop them in the future? So there's going to be a compromise. They're going to end up, this is my opinion, they're going to split it. Israel on the left, Palestinian territorial nation on the right, Jerusalem, which is the contention, supposedly, I don't believe that's the real Jerusalem, is going to be the center of world government. We're going to compromise, and we're going to let the UN be the fair moderator, just like they are on some of the African lands, right? Some of those African wilderness, the UN territory that they look after, right? The UN is going to moderate and oversee Jerusalem, and it's going to become a world capital. But in order to get to this point, you have to create the chaos so you can bring the order. You have to bring World War III, just like you brought World War II. And out of World War II, you had the United Nations and you had the US and you had this whole thing. Remember, there's supposed to be a great reset. You're going to be broke, busted, and disgusted, but you're going to love it. You're going to have robots serving you food, if you can call it food. They're going to control your access to resources and your access to traveling and migration and all of these things. It's going to be this open air prison on a global standard.
New York. We have breaking news out of Israel this morning where Hamas has launched a surprise attack within Israel's borders overnight. First, launching rockets from the Gaza Strip, then sending militants into the streets of the southern part of Israel. Hundreds of people have been injured. Several have been killed, but that number could be much higher. You are looking at live pictures there.
Let's go right to NBC's Raf Sanchez, who is in the south of Israel. Raf, good morning. What is the latest where you are?
Joe, Laura, good morning. Israelis woke up today to find their worst nightmares had come true in the form of a massive surprise attack by Palestinian militants from Gaza. As we speak, Palestinian gunmen are inside Israeli cities and towns, something we have never before seen on this scale. And they are fighting running gun battles against Israeli ground forces. Hamas, the major Palestinian militant group that controls Gaza, says they have taken Israelis hostage and they have taken them back inside of Gaza. Now, the Israeli military says this infiltration came by land, by sea, and by air in the form of Hamas gunmen on paragliders infiltrating into Israeli territory. And this was done under the cover of a barrage of more than 2,000 rockets fired in the early hours of this Shabbat morning. Guys, I want to just...
So they came in power gliders, probably a few hundred. At the most they could do is take over like a city or a small town. But Israel is in turmoil and chaos from a few guys coming in through some boats, supposedly, and some power gliders, and took over Israel. Israel with technology at the level of the United States. Do you think they could take over the United States like that quick, that easy, and cause that much chaos without the military getting involved, National Guard, all this stuff? Really? But they accuse Hamas of doing this. Now, apparently, they're taking people hostages.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر
So they came in there, they took some hostages and stuff, but apparently they took over a whole town, a whole city. There's minimal resistance. It don't make no sense. It don't make any sense. You know it, I know it. It don't make any sense. Now, the question is this. Okay, well, we see that Hamas came in there and they invaded the place, but who created Hamas? Who created it? Because that'll tell you whoever created it, they're probably the ones behind it, right? They're accusing Iran, but Iran is usually associated with Hezbollah. So who controls Hamas?
Basically, of this event that's about to happen in 2018. I want you to listen to Ron Paul here as he addresses the United States Senate about Hamas. Listen up.
I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Dr. Paul. The gentleman
thank
is recognized for 2 minutes.
gentlelady for yielding to ask
2004, I
unanimous
believe.
consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Madam Speaker, I rise in opposition to this resolution, not because I am taking sides and picking who the bad guys are and who the good guys are, but I'm looking at this more from the angle of being a United States citizen, an American. And I think resolutions like this really do us great harm. In many ways, what's happening in the Middle East, and in particular with Gaza right now, we have some moral responsibility for both sides in a way, because we provide help and funding for both Arab nations and Israel. And so we definitely have a moral responsibility, and especially now today, the weapons being used to kill so many Palestinians are American weapons, and American funds essentially are being used for this.
Wait for it.
But there's a political liability, which I think is something that we fail to look at, because too often there's so much blowback from our intervention in areas that we shouldn't be involved in. You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel, because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you said, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first indirectly and directly through Israel help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them. You know, it just doesn't make sense. During the 80s, you know, we were allied with Osama bin Laden. And we were content.
So think about it.
So Hamas was created by Israel and the West. And who's invading Israel right now? See, some people believe anything. Anything the media tells you, you believe it. You got to research. You got to put the pieces together. You're not going to get the truth from little snippets and clips. You got to look at what's happening in the world. What's happening in the East? What's happening in the West? What's happening over here? What's happening over there? And put the pieces together and ask the right question. So if Israel and the West created Hamas, who's behind it now? That's the question. See, all of this is about the New World Order. All of this is about creating the Great Reset. While the Christians tell you it's Ezekiel chapter 38. While the Christians tell you the Messiah is about to return. Some Israelites too, because their eschatology is to, I'm not going to say, it's not really worth listening to. So long as you believe that's our land in the Middle East, you're going to be all confused. When the Jews go back, they're supposed to be what? At rest. See, what you're seeing there, as I mentioned in the Kazaria 2.0, Kingdom of the Antichrist, a fake land, a fake people, and a fake end times. How many times y'all gonna be deceived? I ain't talking to y'all Israelites. Most of y'all, at least on this channel, are aware. I'm talking to those who don't know. I'm talking to those who still following Eurocentric Christianity. I'm talking about those who have no idea what that word says, who don't care to do the research themselves, who don't want to go and read, who don't want to research. The whole world is being played.
Good morning, friends. Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live. I want to just give you guys a quick update of what's happening right now as we speak in Jerusalem. I've gotten 2 reports directly from Jerusalem this morning already that Jerusalem is under missile attack as we speak right now. The Iron Dome has intercepted 8 incoming missiles. The percussions, as one friend of ours, I don't want to disclose names at this time here, shared with me just moments ago. Also, a second friend that lives in Jerusalem there also confirming that Israel is under rocket attack in Jerusalem. Also through Israeli intel, I found out that the airport is closed for civilian traffic, that right now the only thing that's coming in and out is bringing back military soldiers and families that are abroad right now. They're working on trying to bring them in. The largest call up of Israel former military in the history of the country is actually taken place now. Those of you that didn't catch the short that I posted just moments ago, in that short there, I did share the updates that we're getting out of Israel about the death toll. The death toll of civilians, including civilian and military in Israel, has now topped 800. And of course, one of my greatest concerns in this escalation, especially knowing, as we have shared in our video yesterday with you, that the situation in Israel was, this whole Hamas attack was a coordinated effort that took place and could not have taken place without the foreknowledge of Israeli intelligence. I just got in word also late last night from another intel source out of the Middle East saying that Israel is so embedded in Hamas with spies inside the organization, it would have been absolutely impossible for Israel not to know that there was an attack coming. We shared with you also a former IDF Israeli commander, a young woman that was shared in the video that we did yesterday here on Israeli News Live, her actually speaking about that a cockroach couldn't come under that fence without them knowing about it. So this still leads to a lot of concerns as to why, who was involved, who allowed this situation to happen. And of course, as we know, my wife has pointed out, this is totally against any rules of war to attack the civilian population.
So, as he said, it's impossible, and I agree with him, it's impossible for them not to have known what was coming. Now, according to the scriptures, there's a lot of things that's supposed to happen. And as I say, you cannot build an eschatological base off of 1 or 2 scriptures. You have to look at what the scripture says in terms of the message and the story. Right. So, like, for instance, there's a people who went into captivity. There's a people who would awaken and remember who they are, and their heritage is going to be restored, and they're going to be brought back to the land. So that's one aspect of prophecy. But then you have the intermediate aspect of how do they get to go back to their land? How does that get accomplished? Well, they are in the land of their captivity, because in the land of their captivity, what? They shall remember themselves. So if they're in their land of their captivity, the Most High says he's going to release them from someone who's stronger than they are. How does that happen? How do you accomplish that? Well, we know from Jeremiah 50:51 that there's a nation from the north and a nation with allies that's going to attack Babylon, which is the place where they're being held captive, right? And they're going to have to flee into the wilderness. Revelation chapter 12. You got to make it all make sense. You got to bring it all together. Now, the question is what we're seeing in the Middle East prophetic? It is prophetic in a sense that it denotes our coming exodus, assuming that what we're seeing is, what the Bible talks about or what the Apocrypha talks about. And let's go back to this, because we've discussed this 100 times in many different shows. And for those who are new, I suggest you go over to, Odyssey, because Odyssey has all of the videos, right? I mean, there might be some missing over here at YouTube because of censorship and all this type of stuff, right? But if you want all of the teaching, they're over there on Odyssey. But there's supposed to be a world war. That's why it's called World War III, right? Everybody's been waiting for World War III. The problem is many people were equating World War III with Ezekiel chapter 38, which is Armageddon, which has to do with the return of the Most High to destroy the kingdom of the Antichrist and take over and all that stuff. No, we get to go home first. We go home first, back to the land first, according to scripture. Go read Ezekiel 38. Hast thou come to take a spoil from the people who have returned from their captivity with much wealth and gold and silver? I'm just saying. See, this is the problem. People don't know how to take the scriptures and rightly divide them and make it make sense in totality. So the question is this framework that we're seeing implemented, the framework that we would expect before our Exodus, which would denote the destruction of millions, right before the creation of the 10-toe kingdom of the Antichrist, this false peace, for when they say peace, peace, there is no peace. Sudden destruction comes. This utopia, are we in this time frame of world war chaos to bring in peace, order out of chaos? Are we entering that order, but first comes the chaos? That's the question. So 2nd Ezra 15, we read this many times, right? Vengeance on the wicked. Speak in the ears of my people the words of prophecy that I will put in your mouth, says Yahuwah, and cause them to be written on paper, for they are trustworthy and true. Do not fear the plots against you, and do not be troubled by the unbelief of those who oppose you. For all unbelievers shall die in their unbelief. So there's a bunch of people who are untrustworthy. There's a bunch of people who are plotting against Israel, because this is about the Israelites. I told you the Bible, the pseudepigraphy, all that is our history. It is a message from the Most High to our people. When you go and you're looking for help or wondering why these things are happening, right? The Most High tells you why. So give me a 1 if I'm okay. Talisha Yah says I'm buffering. Give me a 1 if I'm okay. If not, give me a 2. All right, I see 1s. Okay, great. So, verse 5, beware, says Yahuwah, I am bringing evils upon the world. So, there's evils coming upon the world. Remember, we saw in scripture that the world was going to be at rest. We had that already, right? It's called the pandemic. But now we have this other thing. There's a evil coming upon the world. What is this evil? The evil that's coming upon the world is war. See, this is what I'm talking about. You got to put the pieces together, all of the pieces, so that they fit and they make sense. So beware, says Yahuwah, I'm bringing evils upon the world, the sword and famine, death and destruction, because iniquity has spread throughout every land, and their harmful doings have reached their limit. Therefore, says Yahuwah, I will be silent no longer concerning their ungodly acts that they impiously commit. Neither will I tolerate their wicked practices. Innocent and righteous blood cries out to me, and the souls of the righteous cry out continually. I will surely avenge them, says Yahuwah, and will receive to myself all the innocent blood from among them. See, my people are being led like a flock to the slaughter. Not the Christians, his people. Who are those people? It's the chosen ones. It's his redeemed chosen ones, the ones he called for himself. I will be silent no more concerning their ungodly acts that they're impiously committed, neither will I tolerate their wicked practices. Innocent and righteous blood cries out to me, and the souls of the righteous cry out continually. See, there's war coming. I will surely avenge them, says Yahuwah, and will receive to myself all the innocent blood from among them. See, my people are being led like a flock to the slaughter. I will not allow them to live any longer in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them out with a mighty hand and with an uplifted arm, and will strike Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all its land. Well, you go, but I thought you said y'all were in Babylon. Yes, we are in Babylon. Well, you go, but how are you in Babylon and Egypt? Because we're in Egypt too. Why? Because this nation has all of the attributes of Egypt, holding God's people captive, making them slaves, working in the fields, right? But we also have all of the attributes of Babylon: commerce, global commerce, right? Influence in all the nations, right? Oppressing God's people, all those type of things, right? Enslaving God's people. So it has the attributes of both. Let Egypt mourn in its foundations because of the plague of chastisement and castigation that Yahuwah will bring upon it. Let the farmers who the ground mourn, because their seed shall fail to grow, and their trees shall be ruined by blight and hail and by a terrible tempest. Alas, for the world and for those who live in it. Who? The world. Not just a city, not just a state, not just a nation, but the world and those who live in it. So something's happening to the world. For the sword and misery draw near them, and nation shall rise up to fight against nation with swords in their hands. So the world is experiencing world war, because a sword and misery draw near them, and a nation shall rise up, what? To fight against a nation. What did Yeshua say? Nation shall rise against nation, kingdoms against kingdoms, seas and the waves roaring with perplexity. Verse 16, for there shall be unrest among people, growing strong against one another. They shall in their might have no respect for their king or the chief of their leaders. For a person will desire to go into a city and shall not be able to do so. Because of their pride, the city shall be in confusion. The houses shall be destroyed, and people shall be afraid. People shall have no pity for their neighbors, but shall make an assault upon their houses with the sword and plunder their goods because of hunger for bread and because of great tribulation. Now, picture this scenario. Picture this scenario of what you just saw happen in Israel. Picture the scenario of what happened in Israel happening in the United States. Picture what happened in Israel happening all throughout all of the cities in America. Picture what happened in Israel of people coming in here who have been let in, right? Crossing the border, young Chinese, military age, cartels, all of these people have come over here. Just picture that for a moment. Why? Because order out of chaos. We're supposed to go into this new utopia, but in order to go there, everybody got to be scared. You know what? Everybody got to be scared to the point of, you know what? Everybody got to be scared to allow their freedoms to be taken and the world governmental system to take over, and they get to take out all of their enemies. See, it's not just the fact that there's world war. Under the cover of world war is taking out some of your enemies, taking out some of the believers, taking out some of the righteous. See, when these people play, they play on a grand scale. And when they fight, it's asymmetric warfare. And when you have asymmetric warfare, the common man don't understand because, oh, it's over there in Russia, it's over there in Ukraine. It ain't over here in the States. While there's policies and programs being put in place, such as censorship, to keep you from knowing the truth and to control you. So when things happen, you won't know. Now, here's another thing. As I told you before in other shows, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Y'all remember what happened on October 4th, right? What happened on October 4th, family? There was a test of the emergency broadcast system. There was a test of your mobile devices. Now, some people were expecting people to turn into zombies and all of these things, and people were expecting all kind of stuff. But guess what? Maybe, just maybe it was much simpler than that. Maybe it was much simpler than that. What do you mean, Yakoba? Maybe the national emergency test was just a warning to the elite. plan number XYZ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 takeover of Jerusalem is about to take off. All elite Freemasons, all elite Luciferians, go to your hiding places, stock up on your food, stock up on your water. We're about to have the scenario kick off in a few days. Warning, warning. I'm just saying, maybe what that was a communication to all of their people around the world that things were about to change, that we are about to go into extreme level, let's say, evils in the world. Maybe they were just being told that the big plan is about to take off. Maybe that's what the warning or the test really was. That what happened over the weekend was about to kick off. I'm just saying that just a few days after the test, they invade, right? I'm just saying, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. I'm telling you, I don't. Verse 20, see how I'm calling together all the kings of the earth to turn to me, says Yahuwah, from the rising sun and from the south, from the east and from Lebanon, to turn and repay that they have given them. So the Most High is what? Calling the kings of the earth. What? Swords, famine, war. Just as they have done to my elect until this day. What did they do to God's people? I'm just saying, y'all keep telling me it's the church, that Israel don't matter no more. That's what y'all keep telling me. But maybe the chosen people still exist. Maybe they were being oppressed. Maybe they were slaves. Just as they've done to my elect until this day, so I will do and will pay it back into their laps. Didn't I tell you that you're going to suffer for what your ancestors did? Go read Isaiah 14:21. Y'all don't believe it. Y'all don't believe the scriptures, right? Some of y'all, I'm talking to the Gentiles right now. Some of y'all just don't believe it. That y'all going to suffer for what your ancestors did. They didn't set you up. Yes, they did. You have inherited lies and things where there is no profit. You have been set up. Oh, well, God, forgive me. I'm a believer. I believe in Christ. Yeah, but you still got to pay. Why? Because that's the law. Well, the law was done away with, so I don't have to pay. Okay. Guess we're going to see. See, that's how I do now. That's how I do with my haters. That's how I do with my detractors. That's how I do with the people who gaslight me. You know what? Sit down, relax, kick up your heels. Just sit back for a little while, drink a little cup of tea, eat some popcorn, and relax. You're going to find out who's right, who's wrong. Oh, you don't believe tail ministry. You think we're lying. Oh, okay. Sit back and relax. It's fine. You're going to figure it out one day. You're going to see it come to pass. If I'm wrong, nothing going to happen. But if I'm right, all hell's going to break loose. Hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy. Thus says Yahuwah, my right hand will not spare the sinners, and my sword will not cease from those who shed innocent blood on the earth. And a fire went forth from his wrath and consumed the foundations of the earth and the sinners like burnt straw. See, this is global judgment. This is world war. Alas, for those who sin and do not observe my commandments, says Yahuwah, I will not spare them. You disobeying his laws, statutes, and commandments? Guess what? He's not going to spare you. Depart, you faithless children. Do not pollute my sanctuary. For Yahuwah knows all who sin against him. Therefore, he will hand them over to death and slaughter. Already calamities have come upon what? The whole earth. Can we say world war? The whole earth. Just a nation, just America? No, the whole earth. And you shall remain in them. Yahuwah will not deliver you because you have sinned against him. Talking to you Gentiles. You ain't got to believe me. Like I say, kick up, drink some coffee, get some popcorn. Just relax. You're going to see that it's all true. A terrifying vision of what? Warfare. What a terrifying sight appearing from the east. The nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. And from the day that they set out, their hissing shall spread over the earth, so that all who hear them will fear and tremble. Also the Caramonians, can we say the Iranians? Also the Caramonians, raging in wrath, shall go forth like wild boars. From the forest and with great power they shall come and engage them in battle. This is a world war, remember. And with their tusks they shall devastate a portion of the land of the Assyrians with their teeth. And then the dragons, remembering their origin, shall become still stronger. And if they combine in great power and turn to pursue them, then these shall be disorganized and silenced by their power and shall turn and flee. And from the land of the Assyrians, an enemy in ambush shall attack them and destroy one of them, and fear and trembling shall come upon them, an army and indecision upon their king. Look, here's the deal. If you see more nations getting involved in this fight, you know we in this situation. If you see Russia fighting along with Iran and Azerbaijan and Armenia and the U.S. and NATO and Saudi Arabia, and you see all these nations coming together and fighting over there in the Middle East, oh, we here. It's World War III. This is World War. I told you, because it's an evil that came upon the what? The whole earth. The whole earth. Told you, ain't nobody lying. Ain't nobody been lying to you, because ain't nobody got no time to be lying to nobody, because guess what? I'm trying to enter the kingdom. That's all I want to do. I want to enter in the kingdom. I want my people to enter the kingdom with me. I don't want y'all deceived. I don't want to be deceived either. See, they keep lying to us. They keep making stuff up, telling you these aren't the drawers you're looking for. And you be like, well, hey, don't y'all see they lying? Y'all be like, I don't think he lying. Well, you know, Yacoba be saying this, Yacoba be saying that. Yeah, but Yacoba got a pretty good track record, though. Judgment on Babylon. Can we say the United States? Judgment on Babylon. Can we say America? Oh, well, America's not Babylon. No, it's the Vatican. It's the Vatican. It's not America. Don't believe that. See, the clouds from the east and from the north to the south, their appearance is exceedingly threatening. Full of wrath and storm, they shall clash against one another and shall pour out a heavy tempest on the earth, and their own tempest, and there shall be blood from the sword as high as a horse's belly. What the Bible say? As the horse's bridle, what we call the Bible. And a man's thigh and camel's hock. And there shall be fear and great trembling on the earth. Those who see that wrath shall be horror stricken, and they shall be seized with trembling. Why? Because it's World War III. Nukes, bombs, pestilence, famine. If all these nations get involved in the Middle East, then this is where we're at. After that, heavy storm clouds shall be stirred up from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. But the winds from the east shall prevail over the cloud that was raised in wrath, and shall dispel it. And the tempest that was to cause destruction by the east wind shall be driven violently toward the south and west. Great and mighty clouds full of wrath and tempest shall rise and destroy what? All the earth and its inhabitants. What? A world war that destroys what? All the earth. The Bible says that such a great destruction is coming that very few are going to survive. Could this be it? Or is that Armageddon? I'm saying that this is God's vengeance against the nations for what they done to his people. Even here, as we were reading, why is all of this happening? Because God said, as they've done to my people, I'm going to do to them. I keep telling y'all keep telling me, God ain't going to judge y'all because you're a believer. You don't care what your ancestor did because it had nothing to do with you, because you don't have no slaves. I'm just trying to warn you. You're going to reap what your ancestors have sown. You ain't got to believe me. Just go read Isaiah 14:21. Great and mighty clouds full of wrath and tempest shall rise and destroy all the earth and its inhabitants, and shall pour out upon every high and lofty place a terrible tempest, fire and hail and flying swords. Can we say missiles? Flying swords, missiles, and floods of water, so that all the fields and all the streams shall be filled with abundance of those waters. They shall destroy cities and walls, mountains and hills. Who could do this other than the modern day technology? Trees of the forest and grass of the meadows and their grain. They shall go on steadily to Babylon. So after all this stuff happening over there around the world, in the Middle East and all these areas, they shall go steadily to America and blot it out. They shall go on steadily to Babylon and blot it out. They shall come to it and surround it. They shall pour on it the tempest and all its fury. Then the dust and smoke shall reach the sky, and all who are around it shall mourn for it. And those who survive shall serve those who have destroyed it. So if what I'm saying is correct, I don't know if it's correct, but it's what I think I see. If all hell breaks out in the Middle East and other nations start getting involved, and Russia and China and all these other nations, Saudi Arabia and all of these, Egypt, if all these nations get involved over there, they coming here next. They're coming here next. Go read Jeremiah 50:51. Same thing. Oh, yeah, nuclear clouds. You got that right. Well, you're putting fear in me, Yacoba. The only reason to fear if you ain't got faith in Yeshua and you ain't living right. See, if you reject the Messiah, you need to fear. I'm telling you right now. Some of y'all be like, the New Testament is idolatry. No, it's not. Use an idiot. Judgment on Asia. Can we say China? And you, Asia, who's sharing the splendor of Babylon. Does not China sharing the splendor of Babylon? China is a big superpower and merchant and military and doing all the stuff. You know, who was behind the last 3 years? Where did that little pandemic start? I'm just saying. They're working together, but they're enemies at the same time. Sometimes I'm a little confused when it comes to the dynamics of the relationship, because I know they betray each other as well. They'll be friends tomorrow and turn on each other the same day. I'm just saying. So, and you, Asia, who's sharing the splendor of Babylon and the glory of her person, woe to you, miserable wretch, for you have made yourself like her. Does not China look a lot like the U.S. now? Does it not operate a lot like the U.S. now? You have decked out your daughters for prostitution to please and glory in your lovers who have always lusted after you. You have imitated that hateful one in all her deeds and devices. Does not China imitate the U.S.? Come on now. Give me a 1 if China imitates the U.S. Give me a 2 if she don't. Therefore, Yahuwah says, I will send evils upon you, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence. Why? Why is Asia, who imitates Babylon, going to be in poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence? Because she's going to be fighting a war. She's going to be fighting a war, and she's going to be getting bombed as well, and her food supplies is going to be diminished, and her electricity is going to be destroyed. And let's not forget, she's been getting hit with a lot of storms and earthquakes and floods and all that. Therefore, Yahuwah says, I will send evils upon you, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, bringing ruin to your houses, bringing destruction and death, and the glory of your strength shall wither like a flower when the heat shall rise that is sent upon you. You shall be weakened like a wretched woman who is beaten and wounded, so that you cannot receive your mighty lovers. Would I have dealt with you so violently, says Yahuwah, if you had not killed my chosen people, continually exalting and clapping your hands and talking about their debt when you were drunk? Now, that's Babylon and China, but mainly Babylon. Beautify your faces. The reward of a prostitute is in your lap. Therefore, you shall receive your recompense, as you will do to my chosen. The other translation says, as you have done to my chosen, says Yahuwah. So Yahuwah will do to you and will hand you over to adversities. Your children will die of hunger, and you shall fall by the sword. Your city shall be wiped out, and all your people who are in open countries shall fall by that. Who did this happen to? Did it happen to them people in the Middle East? Who lost children? Whose children died of hunger and famine and died by the swords and had their cities destroyed and wiped out? Who? Come on, I just want to know. Those who are in the mountains and highlands shall perish of hunger, and they shall eat their own flesh and hunger for bread and drink their own blood and thirst for what? Does that not sound like what happened in 70 AD? I'm just saying. Unhappy above all others, you shall come and suffer fresh miseries. As they pass by, they shall crush the hateful city and shall destroy a part of your land and abolish a portion of your glory when they return from devastated Babylon. Babylon gonna be destroyed. You shall be broken down by them like stubble, and they shall be like fire to you. They shall devour you and your cities, your land, and your mountains. They shall burn with fire all your forests and your fruitful trees. They shall carry your children away captive, plunder your wealth, and mar the glory of your face. Who all of this happening to? Babylon. Can we say Babylon? Does that not sound like what happened to us, family? I'm just asking. They shall carry your children, Babylon, away captive and plunder your wealth like they did ours and mar out the glory of your face like they did ours. But y'all not going into captivity according to y'all. But the Bible says otherwise. And see, the Apocrypha agrees with what we call canon. I'm just saying, ain't my business. I'm trying to enter the kingdom. I ain't got time for all that. I let the Most High deal with it. He said, vengeance is his. He's going to repay. I'll just leave it to the Father. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. Jeremiah 50. The word of Yahuwah spoke concerning Babylon, concerning the land of Chaldeans by the prophet Jeremiah, declaring among the nation that proclaim, set up a banner and proclaim, do not conceal it. Say, Babylon is taken. Bel is put to shame. Merodach is dismayed. Her images are put to shame. Her idols are dismayed. I'm not going to read the rest of this. Y'all heard it enough. I'm going to put the link out there, but I'm not going to be all day. Get a few comments from the family. I'm not going to pin it, so grab it as it goes by. What I see and what it looks like to me is that all of this is about to come to pass. I'm telling you, if you see all these other nations get involved in this battle, you know we. Brother Karras, how's it going?
Shalom, brother Yakoba. This is. I was gonna say, and I emailed you back on Friday. I looked at that. I said, you know what? It's a false flag, and to be honest, I thought it was going to be that typical. They had a skirmish. That skirmish was going to result in, folks asking, Hamas asking for more money, Palestinians asking for more money. And then when this morning, when I was looking and there was Iran involvement and things of that nature in terms of command and control, it tipped the scales for me. Now, the whole thing is that, look, I can't go into detail of what I've been involved in, but let me just tell you, with what I was doing, I was very adjacent to the land there of so-called Israel. And I understood the amount of intelligence apparatuses that's there, that you can't have anything go down without any type of willful neglect or things of that nature. So for me, when I'm seeing folks crossing and bringing up a bulldozer and everything else, that was a warning sign to me that, they allowed that.
Oh
They would
yeah.
have been shelling into there with either drones or other type of cruise served missiles.
Remember when the Palestinians were protesting? They had snipers on there sniping people.
Exactly. They were sniping them.
Yeah.
So you think that they're just letting them, it's okay. It's a Shabbat and folks are there at the concert. Man, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then when it was like, oh, well, Russia's involved, and then they had this hackers and stuff like that for, Israeli media, I'm like, y'all realize that we get most of our defense and cybersecurity products from Israeli services. So I'm like, all right, everything is odd. Everything is off here. All of a sudden, the ineptitude is there to where, they always say, well, we're impenetrable. And then you have folks going over in droves. Yeah. So for me, I look at it like this. We always think about, well, what will turn this off? What will turn this conflict off? Well, usually when this begins, what's usually always happening? Oh, well, we're doing our best to have peace negotiations. That didn't happen this time. I haven't heard anything to where they're trying to really step up peace negotiations and things of that nature. Number one, I heard, at the UN Security Council, you hear the Palestinians talk about, we ain't stopping this. We're going to keep this thing going. What? Because usually when that happens, it's, well, we'll turn it off for money. They're not turning it off. So then the question becomes, then who will start to align, and how will they start to align?
So, Brother Karras,
yes.
What do you think of all the people who are around there with cameras and stuff and just filming the invasion and seeing these guys in trucks and shooting people and all this stuff, just casually sitting there filming the whole thing? I'm like, this stuff is just a joke, man.
Well, number one, how would they even allow that to even be played?
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? I mean, they censored that on YouTube just to show you that, and you have like mainstream channels showing that. Now, to me, look, it's clearly in all this stuff that's going down, the markets, the bond markets, being messed up. People are going to come back from Columbus Day, and then everything's going to, start to make its descent. And, well, it's Russia's fault. Russia did this to us. Now we need to all fight and get galvanized. Oh, and black people, we need your help.
And did you see Netanyahu when he was declaring war on Hamas, how he was smiling? He could barely hold in his smile.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, black people, we need your help. Come and fight for us. That's all I kept thinking is, they're going to fight. They're going to ask, hey, help us on out, because you're going to get the Secretary of Defense, to me, the biggest Sambo in history. Come on, we need your help. For what? Number one, you need to answer this question. Where's that reparations check at? Before I even consider, I don't even want to think about it until I got some money in my hands. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'd be saying. I don't even want to think about it till you get me that check. Once I get that check, I got to figure out, are all them zeros worth it for this losing war? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I have.
Okay, let me go to Brother Eric.
I gotta figure
Shalom, brothers.
Shalom.
So my thing is lagging very bad. So I don't know if you guys can hear me.
I hear you.
All right, cool. Now, family, come on, man. You ain't never seen no foolishness like this when it's real. I remember a time in the 70s and 80s and 90s when these people was strapping C4 upon their chests.
Yeah, exactly.
And blowing everything up. Where's C4? Where's all of the mass destruction and all this stuff? Can anybody say a setup? And on top of this whole foolishness, when have you ever seen a black Palestinian in all their conflicts?
That one right there. That one.
When have you ever remember show? They tell you that we're not the people of the place. That's not our land. Now all of a sudden you see blackface.
That's true. You ain't never saw no blackface.
They're coming for us. Israel, get your house in order. Stop all the foolishness and stay away from these heathens. They don't mean us no good. Listen, whenever they show black people harming white people, that's a trigger for them. That's a trigger. Look at the movie Birth of a Nation. This is nothing but a replay of that foolishness. And they're making us the target. They're trying to kill two birds with one stone. They want to take over land and make it seem like they the people while they're trying to kill the real people.
Yep.
Don't be fooled by these people. Oh, Lord, you're going to make me cuss. Don't be fooled by these people. Stay away from them. This ain't our fight. You understand? Let them kill each other off. Go back and read the scriptures and see right before our deliverance what the Most High would always do. When we cried out to him in sincerity, repent for our sins, he turned his face to us. He caused our enemies to destroy each other, and then he deliver us. That's what's about to go down right now. If you act obedient, if you're going to remain the stiff-necked, hard-head, brow of brass children, we're going to be stuck here even longer, and we're going to have to deal with this nonsense. Just stop all the foolishness. Get your popcorn, like I always say. You know I like Yakoba. I like my extra brother.
Me too.
And let them do their thing. Let them slaughter themselves. And then we could just walk on in, or however we get there. I don't know how we're going to get there, but I know the scripture said the ships of Tarshish is going to carry us home. I like to cruise. Some people like to fly. I like to cruise. Be leaving the end of this month. You understand? I'd rather cruise my way there. I ain't in no rush. But we're going to be here longer and time after time dealing with this. They're still shooting us down in the street.
Yep.
They just killed two of us Hebrews in the street. They ain't, listen, since George Floyd, it ain't slowed down. It got even worse. So what does that tell you? They got all the money for war. They got all the money for Ukraine. Now they're going to have all the money for Israel, but they ain't got no money for you. They ain't just telling you they don't care about you. They're showing you.
Yep.
So that's all I got. Love you, Israel.
All right. I want to know where Sister Betty at. Sister Betty, where you at? Richard Long, how's it going?
It's going well. These people, when they doing the same stuff, when they got a fool on the string, it's like you can do the same stuff. I saw a rocket or something hit a building in Gaza. It went straight down like 911. I mean, they're doing from the same place. These people can put a war on speed dial and just dial it up like that. So they got and it's no lack of money. Trillions for war, but not 1 cent for reparations. But it's going to be to their own destruction. We just need not to be deceived. They have to get us, because we're the people, they have to get us to co-sign with throwing in with them. Throw in with them on the vote. Throw in with them on the war. Throw in with them on the service. And we just need to go crowd for the Most High. That's the thing. That's our move. Sit down and crowd for the Most High. But they got to get us to co-sign for their mess. That's why they always got. I saw that. I thought that same thing. That brother, in a war zone, you got a perfect lens, perfect shot. You got a camera up there shooting. Look like a brother there throwing a white woman in the back of a car. That's that same stuff. Oh, they're throwing babies out of incubators on the floor. These people, they make the movies. That's what they do. They did Hollywood. They did Birth of a Nation. Anyway, when you start seeing real ones, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me forever. We got to be some damn fools.
Yeah, this a bad B movie script, man. They should have got better script writers. You know what I'm saying? Hot sauce, how's it going?
Doing well. Shalom, family. Hope everyone is doing well. I have very similar comments. Overall, I think it's very staged, but the problem with it is it's going to explode into. I do think it's going to explode into a war, whether an actual war, whether it's war, I don't know. But I look at this as the beginning of Isaiah 13, when the Most High starts to stir up the Medes, because it's the Medes, according to Isaiah 13, that actually comes to Babylon and destroys it. And so, I look at the Medes as Iran, and so eventually, they're going to push the ticket too far. America's going to give it support, and I think that's going to stir up the Muslim world. And then from there, it's just going to be our ticket out, because our time is almost up. I have us. I mean, I'm not setting time, but I would have us, sometime Passover of next year, where we'll start to see the curses of the Gentiles, right? Because after the 400 years, you'll begin to see the curses of the Gentiles. So I think right now we're seeing the precursor, or the stage being set to where, because America's already losing its dominance financially. Now we're going to see America lose its dominance, or Babylon lose its dominance militarily. So that's how I see it. And I'll pass the mic on that.
All right, Brother Mike.
Shalom, brothers. How you all doing?
Doing good.
And sister. I see you later, Jay. It's more so of a question. And it could be Gordon to Karras also, since, he got the military background. Yeah, I did find it strange when I seen that dude like a glider or whatever. He coming into Israel and things. But at the same time, I'm asking this question. Now, why is it that they are bombing the other place they claim came in on Israel? And so that's the thing I'm looking at. Is this an excuse that they was trying to get in order? Hey, we got to make like these people attacked us in order for us to turn back on them and get sympathy from the world. Now, what is your take on that, bro?
Well, in order to have World War III, you got to bring in all the nations, right? You got to bring in Russia, you got to bring in Iran, China. So if what they're trying to do, like what I think they're probably trying to do, is imitate, Ezekiel 38, Gog Magog war, then they have to turn up the heat, right? And so like when they attack Lebanon and stuff like that, it just to cause more chaos and confusion, because to me the whole power glide thing, I'm like, that's a bad B script movie, man. I'm like, that just was ridiculous. I'm sorry. And it's like, if you were lucky enough, you could get in a few hundred people and stuff like that, undercover missiles or whatever, but you ain't taking no town, you're not taking no city. You would barely cause a neighborhood a problem. And so now all of a sudden they're trying to make it look like these guys that took over half of Israel. It's crazy.
Now, this is the thing, though.
Never been used in war. Paragon, that's never been used.
The thing is, now when I was watching this, and when Israel supposed to have retaliated, me and Mike Roebuck was on the phone, and we was looking at this video. I said, "No, Mike, I don't see no rocket hitting the building. That building went straight down. It was like bombs. It exploded from bottom coming up." And I said, "Oh, I didn't see no bomb hit this building for it to go straight down like that."
911.
And the thing is, I'm sorry about that. But still, with all of this happening, will it still, will the prophecy still continue with this here? They didn't poke the bear. They said Russia and should have been hacked into their system. Now, and truthfully, when Israel said they've been in, and they're looking for this puppy dog eyes situation, you can't believe everything they saying. And so they saying that, hey, Russia came in and they adamant about that they did it and everything of that nature. That right there had me thinking at the same time. But above all, can this still be part of prophecy?
Well, it is part of prophecy, but it denotes, like I read in Second Ezra, it's the world war, and it's the judgment of the Most High against the nations. He's judging all these nations. And if you think about what happened in Israel, where's the battle helicopter? I need to ask Karis that. Where's the planes? Where's the helicopters? Why they not shooting people in the trucks and stuff like that with armor piercing ammo? I'm like, this just stupid.
You know, here's the thing. The whole place is the size of New Jersey. They already said that.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that they can't recall and they can't move tanks and other armament to those places within hours.
Yep.
Within hours. Like, get out of here. Get out of here. You can move a tank there the size of New Jersey within 4 hours. You can gas that thing up and go, and then you have some supply trucks in the back for the other armaments.
How many helicopters have you seen up in the air?
You know, here's the thing.
None.
Here's the thing. Look, they don't need
I
helicopters.
didn't see anything either.
They have drones.
That too. That's right. They got
You know
drones.
what I'm saying?
That's
So the whole thing is that you're not even allowed to have an incursion up on the fence line. You get what I'm telling you? Come on now.
Yep.
And you would have people that would be there and 5-ton vehicles and armored carrier, personnel carriers, armored personnel carriers, and other conveyances that they can easily get on out.
Don't they have artillery dialed into all those spots?
They absolutely do.
Don't they have artillery dialed into all those spots? They can hit those people.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They have all the. You get what I'm telling you? They have everything that they need to see. Oh, somebody went and had a coffee break or used the bathroom when this all went down for a few hours. You know what I'm saying? Delta farce 5. But that's what we're going to be made to believe, because that's the support that they're trying to drum up.
All right. Let me ask you this one last question. It's both of y'all. How is it that they can plan, or well, let's just say it looked like they planned this. How is it that they want to still say, hey, we got justification for going into not in Ukraine. We can start a war with the United States. How is that? I'm just trying to understand the domino effect from this dumb action that they pushed out. I mean, what are the domino effects that could high probability happen?
Satan just going to outsmart himself. He's going to fall into his own trap. What Satan meant for evil, God going to turn for good. They're setting their own self up for failure. They think people stupid now, that we can't read, that we ain't watching. Everybody got a cell phone. Everybody got a camera. You can't even. They might as well have made this on a old Nokia phone movie. Made this on a. I mean, this is so ridiculous. But Satan knows his time is short, so he throwing out all the theatrics. You know, he ain't got time to set up the stage properly. He's just going for it.
No,
well, let me move on, guys, so everyone can get on there. I'll come back around. Lady J.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Brother Yacoba. Well, I just want to say, I was in the park yesterday listening to your message from Saturday. And this brother came and sat on the next bench next to me. And he was just so engrossed, like he had his face in the phone. And I'm like, what is he listening to? And that's how I found out about the Israeli thing that was happening. So, nothing for me is a coincidence. But I will say this, they are liking this situation to 911. And so that proves right there, this is a setup and a distraction. So, they're going to be faking it as long as they can to distract us and to set a snare for us, because let's not forget, they're all in Confederate against us.
Yep.
So I'm just going to land my plane there. That's it, because I'm stuffing my face with my dinner.
Okay, thanks, Lady J. Brother Don.
Hey, my phone dropped off. Greetings to the panel. Shalom. I've seen a high school drama club perform better than what I saw in those videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. Give me a break. And then the whole, that's not even a B scripted movie. That's like a C scripted. Come on, man. They came in on hang gliders.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I like the treatise that you put together in terms of what you think is happening as it relates to these two current conflict areas. It's all an illusion. And the thing about it is, I do agree with what Lady J said, because they do stuff and it's just like, really? And sacrificing your own has never been a problem for them, as long as they can
exactly
get what they need done. And actually, the way they see it, those aren't really our own. We kind of take care of our own, just like, people got a phone call on September 10th. So it's them moving their agenda. You can't tell me that a nuclear superpower would allow such sottishness to occur in their land. I mean, these people, like you were saying, they have their defense system is probably better. Well, yeah, it's definitely better than the U.S.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I can't see. And then the Mossad. Oh, come on, man. What's with the warship? With the airplane carrier, aircraft carrier. What's up with that? I think they're positioning things under the cover of darkness or blinded public.
They got to bring in the Great Reset, Brother Don,
Yeah,
and the only way to do it is through chaos.
Oh, yeah. And this is my theory. I don't think that November 5th, 2024 is going to be a day that's going to happen for America. That's my belief, and going along with what you're saying, because they've got all this stuff lined up and in place to make that happen at a flip of a switch. I mean, it's just too many. There's so many moving parts. But if you keep your eyes on all of them, and then remember, it's always about us and them, you can pretty much see what's going on. And I'll land there.
All right. Didi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I don't know if I put a question in the chat. I don't know if you want me to go over that. This what I've been finding. It's concerning what they're doing to our food supplies. What I found is really disgusting, and I just feel like it's their last ditch effort to basically destroy Israel. I've been trying to figure out, I'm like asking y'all what is wrong with this food that they're giving. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's causing people to get sick. And I was led to look up, this lady named Henrietta Lacks. She was born in 1920s, and she died in 1951 of cancer, uterine cancer. They found that her cells are still being used. The doctor found that her cells would not die, and so what they're doing, they are using her cells. They call it HeLa cells, call it immortalized cells, and basically what they're doing, they've used her cells in cancer research, COVID vaccines. Now this is, mind you, 1951, and her cells are still being used. And I was wondering what is going on with this food that they're producing. There's a video that I found of Netanyahu standing before steel vats. They are growing, where they're saying that they could specialize this so-called food into beef, chicken, and fish. And Netanyahu is standing there before them, giving the approval that this is meat. Actually, what they're growing is cancer cells. And I just want to warn our people not to eat this stuff. This is not food. They're trying to make it so that, oh, it's safe for the environment, it's safe for this and that. Her cells were being used in COVID. Her cells are
Yeah.
being
Yeah, we know a lot about this, and I don't want to get into the details of it because I don't want to be hit by YouTube, right? But it's true, and I've talked about that. The water, the food, the air, your clothes, everything is poison, and you got to do your best to avoid it, right? And that's why, like, when you go to certain of these fast food restaurants and you're getting yourself a chicken sandwich, you don't know if that's a chicken sandwich. You better get something with a bone in it, right?
That's
And
what I was going to tell you. If it
yeah,
doesn't have a bone in it, don't eat it,
yeah.
because it's not good for us, and we got to basically wise up to. And they
So like I said, I don't want to continue on this topic too much because I don't
okay.
know where they're gonna hit me at with it, but it's true, and that's why, like, for me, I'm very picky on what I eat. That's why I eat a lot of veggie stuff for the most part. I mean, I'm not vegetarian though. Well, I guess I am sort of vegetarian, but what I do is, if I do eat meat, it'll be every blue moon, and it'll be liver, every blue moon organic. Right now, there's these places you can get online where they can you can order your food. It's privately owned farms, and you could get some of your food from there. But you're gonna be spending a little more than you normally would. But I suggest you don't eat at fast food places anymore, because that's where they probably start most of those, and some of the regular restaurants as well. Because I know in Washington, they implemented some of that lab stuff there, and some of the restaurants have it. So you might not want to order anything without a bone in it. So let me move on, DD. Jesse McCullough.
What's up, brother Yakoba and everybody? Hope everybody's well.
How's it going?
Great, man. I seen what was happening over in the Middle East, and I just want to comment about that. We about ready to go home soon, man.
I think so.
First and foremost, and there, from the rhetoric that I've heard over the last couple of days since this happened, is they're using this as, how can I say it? I might be off a little bit, but I think they're trying to, how can I say it? Like falsify the prophecy. They're trying to manipulate it somehow, because the word is like, oh, when you see Israel surrounded,
Yep.
by all these enemies and all, they're the victims of all of this. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to steal the prophecy. They already
Yeah.
stole, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to give up too much of it. But they've already stolen the birthright, trying to anyway, like our identity. So now, okay, wow, now we got to send them all this money. We got to help them. We got to bail them out. But they've been bleeding the people over there on the apartheid tip. And first of all, they don't belong there. There's never going to be any peace there because they don't belong there. And I know everybody read the Balfour Declaration. I know everybody has. And that's how they got there. Because somebody told me the other day that they never got how can I say it, reparations. Oh, the Ish people never got reparations. I said, yes, they did. They got their own land. They got their own schools. They got everything. What are you talking about? They don't line up with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. They don't. And if you read the book of Exodus, you find out that they don't either. So it's like, okay. So all of this stuff is happening now. And I believe that everybody gonna get involved in it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Iran wasn't involved because this came from the West Bank and the sea and the air. It always came from the West Bank before. They were always fighting on the Gaza Strip and everything came from the West Bank. So why is it coming from the ocean now? Why is it coming from the sea? So it's something different about this one, you see. It's something
It's scripted.
It's scripted, right? It's something different about this one because there were some problems over there anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm
Brother
like,
Yakoba, the Ish people do receive reparations. I think Germany has paid them like 90 billion or something to date and still paying them. So they getting reparations. They definitely got money.
Exactly. So they don't line up with the prophecy. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And I believe you, Yakoba. I believe it is scripted. Everything is scripted. Just like 911, same thing. Everything is scripted. They're trying to push us somewhere.
Yep.
They're taking us somewhere on this one because, like you said, they had that national thing, whatever they call it, emergency system, broadcast system, and prior to that, Russia had a major exercise.
Yep.
I was in the military, dude. I know, my job was communications. That's what my job was. We were support for infantry and a lot of other different departments. And believe me, these are all war tactics. You see, they don't do something for nothing. There's always a reason behind when they do a move. There's always a reason. And I'm going to land my plane right there.
All right. So we're going to go for final comments. We're going to start with Brother Karras.
Yeah, thanks Jacoba for opening up the panel and having us on. Thanks to the panel because it's great insight about how we've been seeing this. What did we say last week? Something big was going to happen, or some things are going on. It's on a daily basis. It truly is. And now I look at it like this: money's running out, funds are running out. And, now people are coming to account of what and who and how things are going. And there's too many questions that's now being asked because we done woke up. And since we woke up, you now have G.I. Joe with paraglider folks going across the sea. And that's the nutty thing about that is, that's a suicide mission when you're going to try and be on a paraglider doing all that.
Oh yeah.
All that mess. But it's theatrics, right? And that theatrics is what is being simulated in the minds right now to draw these folks in for the next conflict. Did you see what happened to the state of Israel? And let's just be honest. What's actually going on is it's a queuing of the West to say, The last vestige of white supremacy is being attacked. And if white supremacy goes down here, then white supremacy goes down everywhere worldwide. And that is really the rallying cry of what's happening. So understand the magnanimous event that's occurring. We think of it as, well, it is what it is. No, it's to them, this is it. And so, will they will they try to have negotiations or peace negotiations? To be honest, I don't know. I really don't think so. I think that right now we've crossed that line, and I'd like to see what happened with the UN Security Council meeting, if there's any type of resolutions, but I don't think we're going to see anything, to be quite honest. Or if we do see something, it'll be like, a week or so out after, things are there, in terms of troops being on the ground. But I want to say this before I depart. I want everyone to pay attention to the Levant area. And I say the Levant area in terms of Jordan, Syria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon particularly, what that's going to look like. Because once that shapes on up, then you'll start to see how this thing moves. And on top of that, I don't want to scare anybody, but, the military is in such a dire situation with the amount of recruits. I was just talking to this the other day with Mike. You have to understand, they may even take out seniors if things get really bad. I'm going to caveat that as, if.
You
Because
mean draft seniors?
yeah, they could give them an abbreviated diploma. You see what I'm saying? And make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. Think about what they have in terms of this quote unquote gig economy and those that are doing these gig jobs. You know that the Department of Labor actually keeps statistics on these types of gig economies and jobs. Because why? Because that's your very first source of who you would be able to draft. An easy, no questions asked. Well, what happened to such and such? Next thing they know, their next of kin are getting a phone call. Don't worry, your son or your daughter is, with the U.S. government performing, military service. You can't put it past them. Okay. And I'm not putting it past anything, because now we're outside of the world of reality and we've literally hit the twilight zone. So with that said, shalom. Thank you, Brother Yakoba.
All right. Thank you, Brother Karras. Brother Eric, final comment?
Thanks again, Brother Yakoba, for having me. Love the discussion. Nice to see that Israel is woke, And Brother Jesse made a good point. He said that them people over there, they getting big money. You understand? Billions. So it's I want y'all to remember, the Most High said, the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. That's going to be our money one day. And you know me, unity in our community, stick together. And with that said, I gone.
All right. Thank you, Brother Eric. Brother Richard, final comment?
Yes. We have to understand who we're dealing with. To the people who are over this thing, war is a good thing. But war is a bad thing to the people. So they got to get us to sign on to war. You got to realize what made America, USA, the superpower. World War II. How did we get on top in World War II? We could bomb everybody else's country to ashes and they couldn't touch us. They didn't have the technology. Germany didn't have any bombers. Japan couldn't touch us. They're thinking it's going to be like that this time. If they destroy everybody else, then we'll be the only one left on top. But guess what? They, like you said, Brother Yakoba, they got flying swords. They can reach out and touch us. So we're not going to get on the top. They want to do a redo of World War II, and America going to rise up on the top, and it's not going to happen. So the Most High is leading them to their own destruction because they're trying to do what they always did, just like they're trying to still delete us. They're trying to do everything they used to be able to do under the ain't no 400 years, except that it ain't going on right now. And I'll land on that.
All right. Thank you, Brother Richard. Hot Sauce, final comment.
Yeah, thank you. Shalom to the family. Peace and blessings. I would say you need to prepare because I think this is definitely the precursor for the Medes to invade Babylon, as it says in Isaiah 13. Iran was probably most likely is going to say, if U.S. gets involved, that's a declaration of war against Iran, and then you're going to have the combination of Russia and Iran invading into the U.S. So, which is a good thing because at that time we get to see the punishment of the Gentiles, and we'll also be taken out of the land of our captivity into the wilderness. So be blessed and be prepared. Shalom.
All right, thank you, Hot Sauce. Brother Don.
They say that war is the greatest transfer of wealth that exists. And it's only those at the top that are getting paid. I think they're trying to financially bankrupt this country so they can say, well, we don't spend all the money on war. We got enough reparations for you. But, as it says in the script, I would have healed Babylon. And you know what? I'll land there.
Thank you, Brother Don. Final comment, Brother Jesse.
Yes, sir. Well, there's an Amazon delivery, and only America can sign for it. I'm gonna stop it right there, my brother.
All right. Thank you for coming on, Brother Jesse. All right, fam. That's it. Great commentary from the panel. What we're seeing today is prophetic, but it's not prophetic in the sense that most people expect the way they see and have been taught eschatology from a Eurocentric viewpoint, Ezekiel 38 and all that stuff they claiming, right? But, it's to be expected because most people really don't do research on end times. I mean, you got to really have a heart for end times to really study it, right? You definitely got to have a revelation from the Holy Spirit because some things, it's cryptic. Some things are symbolic, but the scriptures answer the scriptures, right? And that's the thing. Most people don't allow the scriptures to interpret the scriptures. And so when we see things, we have an interpretation that we get from others. And because we get those things from others, we're caught in the ambush with everybody else because we allow the system to mold our interpretation. So as we see these things happening, most of the world has a preconceived idea of how the end times is supposed to happen and what's supposed to happen. And so, this makes sense to them because for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they've been telling you the people in the Middle East are the people, and Israel's going to be surrounded by armies, and God's going to come and save them, and then we're going to go into, the millennium. But it's not happening that way because the Most High says he's got to judge them first for what they've done to his people. They ignore those scriptures. They ignore Joel 3 and Isaiah and all of those that talks about the Most High getting vengeance for what they've done to his people. They refuse to listen to that. And so therefore they come up with their own stuff, and many of our people who hate to do their own research fall for it. And they got mores and pastors who teach them the same crap, believing that that land is our land when it don't fit the descriptions from the Bible. Just as the people in that land don't fit the descriptions in the Bible. It just don't make sense how anybody believe that. But, like I say, Sit back, get your popcorn, and wait, and you will find out the truth. Stand strong in the Lord, right? At the scripture that we read, but stand strong in Yahuwah and see the salvation of Yah. Because like I said before, just my opinion, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Some of y'all don't like that. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. That means you're supposed to use your own brain and research things and see whether or not those things are so, like the Bereans. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. The things that are occurring is going to happen according to the scriptures, whether or not anybody is, our interpretations are accurate or not. But you're going to see that, what makes sense, right? The story has to make sense. The people got to line up with Deuteronomy 28. The people got to line up with Ezekiel chapter 37. The judgment has to line up by those who enslaved his people. Right? It all got to come together. You can't just take stuff out of context and just take one little piece and think you know what's going to happen. It got to make sense with the story that's being told. God got angry, sent his people into captivity because they were hard-headed, stiff-necked people. And he said he's going to save them and restore them and bring them back home to the land that was promised to them and their ancestors. And he's going to judge those who enslaved them. He's going to judge those who sold a girl for wine and made a boy a prostitute. He gonna judge the colonizers who took their land, who did not pay them for their service. See, it all comes back full circle if you understand the scriptures. It's not that hard. But the thing is this, and it's sort of like I've said before. With the things that Sister Dee said about the food, that is absolutely 100% correct. And if we have trouble getting clean food, as the scripture says, we would eat dung in Babylon. If we're eating dung in Babylon and the water's poison and the air is poison and the grass is poison and the clothes is poison and people are poison now, we can't stay here. Logic 101 says we can't go another 10, 20 years here. Not if you want to survive. Therefore, the Exodus has to be near. My opinion. And I'm allowed to have an opinion. And I think my opinions have been pretty good so far. And what we see happening is a straight up manipulated script for the world to go along with the global agenda, with the Great Reset, with the SDG, possibly, mind you, with the return of the fallen angels, but who knows? Coming to save humanity from self-destruction and total chaos. Possible. You got to be ready for it all. Because they didn't told you, in my opinion, they didn't told you everything they're going to do to you. They even told you who you are. They tell you everything they're going to do to you, everything they have done to you in the movies, in the TV shows, in the cartoons. But most of y'all don't want to believe it because somebody going to come along and gaslight you and say, no, that's not happening. He's a conspiracy theorist. While you sit there watching and see the exact same technology that they revealed to you in Star Trek. It's just a coincidence. You got robots and artificial intelligence, and now you're doing like Captain Kirk, computer. Tell me about the stars over there in District 7 of Delta Quadrant 10. Just a coincidence. Ain't nothing a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. So if you want to support this ministry, you can by becoming a patron, www.patreon.com/TOTW, or Cash App, $TOTW7101. Also, the email there if you want to send me an email. And a lot of stuff that's happening, you got to realize that they want you to believe a certain paradigm so you can be deceived with the masses. It's a bit obvious. The Bible says we're not ignorant of their devices. I mean, I think, they got us for a while when we were asleep. You know what I'm saying? We were still asleep. But now we woke. We can see what they're doing. And guess what? They ain't got no respect for you so that they make the lie very sophisticated anymore. No. They'll use CGI in your face and tell you it's real. That's how much respect they got for most people's intellect. You're going to fall for some people, some power gliders taking over pretty much a first world nation. Really? I mean, if you believe that, I mean, that's you. But in my opinion, there's not much time left if what I'm seeing is biblically what we see in 2nd Ezra 15, Jeremiah 50:51. That's what I think is happening. And if that's the case, then we're about to go into a global world war, and we're about to see a whole bunch of nations involved in this war in the Middle East. Azerbaijan, Armenia, Iran, Russia, NATO, everybody's going to be involved. The whole world going to be on fire, just like everyone was involved with the pandemic, if I'm correct. And guess what? If I'm correct, I guarantee you I ain't going to hear no more about the 400-year prophecy being a lie or incorrect. If you ain't wake up then, I'm sorry for you. So if you want to support this ministry, become a Patreon. You can give Cash App. And also you could go to giftgivingforall.com and get a hoodie, shirt, mugs, things like that. We're going to see what's going to happen in the next few days, next few months. Things are moving pretty fast. I mean, super fast. Every time you see one thing, there's another right down the street, right? I'm like, I'm expecting something soon. It's moving too fast. Now, remember, their deadline is 2030. And according to some of the things I've read, they've accelerated that time frame from 2030 to 2025. That's what they're trying to do. That don't mean they're going to accomplish it. As I read with that CIA report, they weren't sure they were going to hit 2030 to achieve their goals, but most of it. So they didn't turn up the heat because they're trying to reach those goals earlier than 2030. So I'm expecting you to see all kind of stuff happen. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised they bring out the aliens and all that, and the holograms, Project Bluebeam. I wouldn't be surprised you see that along with World War III all at the same time. Famine, pestilence, people going hungry and all that stuff. And it's going to be too late to say, hey, maybe I was wrong. Yeah, well, like I said, that's just how it is. Some people going to believe it. Some people going to be found worthy to escape all these things, and others are going to be caught up in it. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah. Also, please remember to support the Dry Bones Project.